Okay, into the news section of the podcast. We've got to put this at the top news, really, because it's something that has just dropped at the time of recording this. And if you are actually seeing this, a first for this podcast, this is possibly out on YouTube feeds before the podcast has even aired. It's something we've wanted to do for a while, this actually. Drop a little bit before the podcast. It's not always possible, but going forward in the future, we might be able to do a bit more of this if something breaks. Just a little bit of preview for you YouTube watchers, audio listeners. You obviously get the podcast in full the next day. But the top story, this is from The Guardian. Quote, Hillsborough capacity reduced after Newcastle's overcrowding complaints. Can I just say one line they put in as fact in the byline of this? Away supporters faced, quote, crushing issues during FA Cup tie.
Give me, sir.
End
sir,
quote.
Sir. No, they didn't.
That's what's been said as fact there, by the way. Okay, let's go into the article. Sheffield Wednesday's Hillsborough Stadium away end capacity has been reduced by the City Council after a review into complaints of overcrowding and crushing, end quote, by Newcastle United supporters in an FA Cup tie. The Premier League club said on Monday. Images and footage on social media show congestion around the exit to the tunnel in the Leppings Lane end, with a number of Newcastle fans claiming there was a lack of stewarding before kick-off on the 7th of January. There were no reports of injuries. Hillsborough was the... Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. Past that.
We know there was the disaster. It's an awful thing, right? Okay, it's one thing. It's the reason we didn't put this in the podcast before, because I hate anything that comes to it. I'm going to carry on with this article, okay? Sheffield City Council contacted the Newcastle United Supporters Trust regarding the January game and considered about 50 accounts on aspects such as the number of stewards and incorrect information given to fans who were directed through the wrong turnstiles. The Sports Ground Safety Authority, the British government's advisor on safety at sports venues, reviewed the incident with Wednesday and local officials. Quote, regarding capacity reduction, we can advise that the Upper West Stand now has a further reduced capacity of 2,400. Down from 3,200 as a result of the recent review, for a stand with a holding capacity of 4,194, the council told Newcastle. The Lower West Stand now has a further reduced capacity of 1,300, down from 1,500 as a result of a recent review, for a stand with a holding capacity of 2,366. End quote. Right. So that's come out. Can I just reread...
Yep. Go for it.
The original statement that was released by the Sheffield City Council, who are referenced in this, and this is apparently how it's been imposed by SWFC and SCC joint statement. This was from the Wednesday website. Quote, a review of Hillsborough Stadium over concerns about crowd movements has concluded, stating that all aspects of safety at the stadium complied fully with the club's safety certificate. Minor recommendations were made relating to the overall matchday experience. The review was commissioned by the Sheffield City Council and Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, with an oversight from the Sports Ground Safety Authority after concerns were raised relating to the match between Sheffield Wednesday and Newcastle United on Saturday the 7th of January. As part of the review, the group reached out to Newcastle United supporters who attended the fixture, liaised with partner agencies, examined matchday records and scrutinised CCTV images. A review of the crowd management procedures implemented by the club on the day, together with revisiting associated capacity calculations, was also carried out. Councillor Joe Otten, Sheffield City Council, said, and quote, public safety is our priority. We work together with governing bodies and our local clubs to make sure everybody attending matches is safe. We understand that fans are going to feel concerned if they feel like there is overcrowding, so it is our responsibility to ensure we don't put people in that position. And where concerns are raised, we take them very seriously. We have carried out a thorough review looking at all the evidence available, as well as speaking to fans, officials and stewards who were present on the day. We've also reviewed all matchday operation plans. Our findings show full compliance at the stadium and no issues relating to the matchday operation. Some minor changes have been identified to improve the overall experience. As is normal procedure, we will continue working together, carrying out routine checks and sharing plans and knowledge to make sure everyone on site is safe and has the best experience possible. The concerns raised were also subject to review by the Safety Advisory Group, who agreed with the findings. The FA and the EFL have also been notified of observations from the fixture with no additional requirements asked of the club or at the stadium. Liam Dooley, Sheffield Wednesday Chief Operating Officer, said, and quote, "We welcome the outcome of this review, as the welfare of all supporters and everyone in the stadium is our utmost priority. We would reiterate that the stewarding numbers within the visitors section of the stadium for the Newcastle fixture exceeded the requirements of the safety certificate. The Newcastle ticket allocation also complied completely with the safety certificate. We continuously review our safety management plans and ensure the correct measures are in place for every fixture at Hillsborough. Extensive planning meetings with relevant stakeholders are held before each game, with equally extensive review meetings thereafter. While we have full confidence in our matchday operations, we welcome feedback on an ongoing basis as to how we can improve the experience for supporters and listen to any concerns raised of a matter, of course. We have worked closely with Sheffield City Council and the respective sports governing bodies in conducting a robust review of the Newcastle United fixture and are pleased that the findings support the confidence we have in our procedures. Some minor recommendations will be implemented to ensure we continue to deliver the best possible matchday experience." End quote. The fact that that's happened seems a little bit more than a minor recommendation of reduced capacity. So what do you think's happened here?
I think this is caught Wednesday flat-footed because there's no statement from us yet.
We're quite hot on the press with this one.
Yeah, there's no statement yet. Normally, when something like this comes to the statement going after, I think they didn't know this was coming. And they just got this and gone, hey, we're doing this. Now, if they've all already agreed, why take the capacity down? We're already at a situation where we can't fill that stand due to the capacity. It's like a 6,000 away end. Technically, we can't fill it. We're not allowed to. So
I was trying not to say this, right? Because I actually, in the lead up to this, I quite like Newcastle as a fan base. I actually got on with the fans. I like the general atmosphere of the club, and the fans have always been courteous until this incident. That wasn't even an incident, right? The fact is, you've got videos from their vloggers just walking down normally like there's nothing going on. That, entryway clear. There's only one really awkward image that a journalist took and then blew out of all proportion. And when he was proved wrong, by the way, refused to stand down, just ignored it, pretended it didn't exist.
Also blocked everybody who gave him and said everything, and anybody that actually reached out to him who was a local journalist went, nope.
Yep, because that's journalism, clearly. What actually happened was there's one photo that is the incriminating photo where all the fans are sort of stood in the middle, like they've just come through the turnstile at once and pushed their way out. What you've got next to that on all sides is empty seats.
Yes.
Find your seats.
Very simple.
And I understand why they say that might be where the stewarding comes in and all that sort of stuff, but the fact is, right,
we have more than we have.
How has this not happened in decades since?
Yep.
Because of the stewarding, because of the fact that we are so paranoid that anything could be related to our ground. Can I just say, from a personal perspective, and I said this last time, as a fan, myself, and I think most of our fan base, we would be the first people to moan and say, that's ridiculous. How are we letting it get to a standard if we thought this was legitimate?
Yep.
Because it's something that was horrific that happened, that has forever sort of obviously tainted the name of our stadium and ruined lives and took lives. And it was something that when it gets said in vain like this in this certain thing, this is what annoyed our fan base, right? That side of it was a case of, please show me any proof that this happened, because there was...
I have prior knowledge with the whole Wednesday disaster, my uncle attended that game as a Nottingham Forest fan. And I got married at Hillsborough, and watching my Uncle David have to go look at that stand, it broke my heart on my wedding day. Because the man can't still do it because he saw that, he was there. And we all understand it. It was horrific. We tried to make things better. What is going to annoy me next season, if and when happens in League One to Championship, away fans, do not complain at Sheffield Wednesday or their fans when your ticket prices are sky high.
No.
Chansiri has to get that money back, the 56% that he can't sell now. And he will charge more because he got to. He's a business. As much as Sheffield Wednesday is a football club, it's a business. The problem is, away fan will incur that charge.
Incur that,
yeah. It will go on them. And we can't do out about it. Everything came back. We thought this was done. A couple of months ago, we didn't think we would be having to do another story on this. We thought it was done, dusted. After this, you had Port Vale fan coming out and complaining. You had this. Where were your complaints on match days?
Yeah.
Why come out after the fact?
Yeah.
No one complained to a steward. No one got hurt. We had more stewarding. And granted, I'll say stewarding. It's pot luck. Depends on who you get on the day. Sometimes they're brilliant, sometimes they're great because it's an agency they use.
Another reason I don't buy it, sorry Jake, I don't mean to, is like, I'm ranting now, is because Leeds fans who don't like us, can I just put that on paper, came out and went, they did, some of these fans and some of these journalists tried to do the exact same thing to us. Yeah. When something didn't go right. And I'm like, why that level of petty? Newcastle could be in the champ. What are the fans doing? Like that's part of the reason why you could say the counter argument. Why would they lie? But there's no evidence there.
If we lose that game, I don't think this happens.
Yeah, but then again, you're going to get the tweets now going, oh yeah, it's clearly because we lost, that sort of thing, because their fan base is kind of taken it as an insult. Can I just say, I'm not insulting that entire fan base. I'm talking about the fact that it was a journalism
minority that blew it up. And journalists blew it up. Most of the Newcastle fans I know and I spoke to, who spoke to me about it, said it's absolute BS. There was none of it.
It makes me angrier as well because, like, this is added context about why I would actually care about this a lot. I lived in Liverpool for 4 years. I made a lot of friends with a lot of Liverpool fans. Some people I know have been affected directly by that situation. I've seen another side of it. Obviously, I grew up at Hillsborough in a time where it was kind of in the shadow of it. But when I was growing up, I was like, you can be a younger Wednesday fan in my generation and you can see I grew up basically, obviously, after it happened. So Hillsborough to me wasn't that. Hillsborough to me was Sheffield Wednesday's football ground. But as I got older, seeing the story, seeing what happened, and then meeting these people, it kind of changes your perspective that some probably fans wouldn't have because they'd never really been able to tie that to it, and it's something that they've heard happened a long time ago. Because I know when I was a kid growing up, you think, oh, well, that happened a long time ago. So because you've got no idea of time when you're a kid. Do you know what I mean? I see the memorial and I'm like, oh, that's something that happened ages ago. But then you realise how
impactful it was.
Yeah. Because when I was a kid that was little, obviously. I'm talking about when I was little here. I'm not talking about when I got older and realised the passage of time. But everything seems like it's ancient history, when you're a kid and you're just going to football. But when growing up and then meeting these people, why would they make it up? Why would they add to it just because? I don't know. I'm starting to rant now, Jake, but it's annoyed me now.
For me, it just like we've done ever so well to try and curb anything. Like the moment when we had it a couple of seasons ago in the Championship where the Leeds fan came out, right, we stopped you all from going on the bottom end because we didn't want that to happen. No one told us to do that. We just did it. We didn't have to have a review. We went, right, we're not having that, done. You don't go on the bottom tier now. What are you going to do? Apart from knocking that stand down, which we can afford technically, but it would mean cutting stuff out where other places where money should go, kind of thing. What do you want us to do? Like, it gets harder. And it's just annoying that it's happened again.
Let's look what the fan base has said. So I reached out and said, what do we think to this? JP writes in and says, an absolute mockery and feels like a Premier League team bullying a League One team. I don't know if this is the case, but it feels like it with the way it's gone. So it's... I think the fact that it was on TV, if you talk about the echo chamber of the fact it was on TV, everybody was talking about the fact we beat Newcastle. That's sort of like being the story. It looked like this immediately. As soon as something positive comes out about Wednesday, you have to deflect it, usually. Chris writes in and says, until it's knocked down, we will always have that stigma attached.
I don't think it will, though. I think even if it's knocked down, there's still going to be a stigma around.
Why is it still called Hillsborough? That sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Don't let any away supporters in. Jobs are good, and he finishes that with. I said this at the time. It's going to affect away supporters that want to just come to the stadium and enjoy the game now. Yep. That's going to be a thing that happens. Michael writes in and says, this is going to live with us forever, whether we like it or not. Any excuse that comes along, we're going to have to pay for it until we knock that stand down, which we should have done, or move to a new site or new stadium. more and more fans are starting to think this is going to stay forever until we knock it down, aren't they?
Yep.
Do you think it'll happen?
I don't know. It depends how much chance theory goes, you know what, I'm sick of this as well. I'm just going to blitz it and we'll just have a season where we're just going to have to figure out how we do on the pitch. It's a big... What a lot of people don't realise, as much of doing stuff to stadium doesn't affect FFP, it does affect what you can then give Darren Moore, whoever's in charge, to put to the playing squad.
But this does affect FFP as well, because if we can't make money on tickets, that's going to affect... It's a bigger picture thing.
Yeah. No, I understand it. But look, we've got 56% left now. Bet your ticket prices to go up by 5-10%.
Yeah. I did say at the time, the only way to stop people doing this is to reduce allocations for teams.
I don't want to say that because of the cost of living crisis and stuff, and it's already expensive. But what should we do as a business? Because it's a business.
Yeah. And it's also a case of we're going to get fan bases moan at us now and say, oh, why are Wednesday giving us terrible allocations? Because we can't do anything else.
Nope.
We are quite fair. Like fan bases that have got bigger fan bases, we try and give them bigger allocations.
We gave Newcastle massive allocation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Intense.
And they've ruined it for everyone else.
Well, you can go...
To wrap this one up, Andy writes into the Discord and says, it's fine. Every other club in the league is Diddy with no fans anyway. He said that.
Not us.
Not us. Moving on.
Yes.